All right, we have two new guests with us today. So what we usually do is we just introduce ourselves and we give us the gist of what you're dealing with, um, and like the gist of how you got here, how your perfect storm, how you think your perfect storm started, and the gist of your symptoms, and maybe some of the programs you did, and you know what brought you here, I guess. So we'll start with Andrea da Silva.
Yes. Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, my name's Andrea. And so I what I'm well what I'm dealing with right now is a anxiety that's keeping me from feeling at ease and comfortable in my home. And it makes complete sense as to why this is happening, as I had a very long illness and drastically, dramatically changed my life. And I came and lived in this place that my parents own because of that. And I recovered here, and I've lived the whole time here with like a really like severe health conditions. I totally recovered,
What was it that you
but
recovered from?
I had Lyme disease,
Oh, okay.
and I got really good treatment. I got intensive antibiotic treatment, but it took years. And yeah, I had multiple tick-borne diseases, infections. And when I recovered and got my like physically, mentally, I was well, cognitively, like I had my cognitive functioning back. I was like a small shell of my former self. And I did Dan Buglio's um work for a number of months. And that was how I just literally changed my life. I mean, it got me like the most simple things like graded exposure got me just up and walk. There was another piece though. I recovered from the Lyme, all of that, like a little bit before the pandemic, around 2020. And then that's when like severe anxiety hit, and I felt like I've never had anxiety. I think I had probably a little bit of anxiety my whole life, but nothing, I never would have called it anxiety. It was just stress.
Kind of
And
anxiety, looping thoughts, OCD
well,
looping
yes,
thoughts.
yes,
Okay.
yes, this started during the pandemic. And I think
Yeah.
part was partially due to like all of a sudden I feel really healthy, and now I'm still stuck here in my place with the pandemic. And yeah, I just had like this like paralyzed feeling of like not wanting to leave my bed, and
Yeah.
waking up in anxiety, like this like complete vibration going on in my body. Like it wasn't so much the content of like, oh, I'm scared of this or that. It was just a feeling of fear of, and like I might die.
Yeah. Okay.
And so, yeah,
Did you notice at all that because I noticed this with me, I had the same situation. I see this with a lot of people. I see this as a trend uh in the mind space field where people, the more they recover physically, the more their anxiety spikes, the more the OCD comes,
yeah,
OCD looking thoughts, intrusive thoughts,
yeah,
and doom feeling, right? So that was a trend that I noticed because their brain's looking to send you more alarms because there's still more work to be done in the baseline, and your bucket's still right.
yeah,
You're turning off alarms physically. You're doing the work, turning off alarms physically, but the brain's like, okay, well, she's not listening to the alarms I'm sending, the physical alarms. So what are we going to do? Okay, well, we got to ramp up the mental alarms. So that's what it does. It ramps up the mental
yeah,
alarms. And then sometimes what you might notice if you ever have a setback, a physical setback, where an old symptom comes back, you might notice that your anxiety might cool off a bit because you're focusing on a physical symptom. But then at the same time, the anxiety will tag team with a physical symptom. Then you get the looping thoughts about the physical. So do you ever have physical symptoms do make a U-turn come back?
um, I physical symptoms, not so much. I mean, I've get my kind of stress symptom are kind of headaches, but they're manageable. They're not, they don't, they don't, they aren't too much of a problem. Actually, since I've done the mind body work with Dan, also I used to get migraines and they're very infrequent now. And if I just take something if I feel like I'm gonna get one and it doesn't come on. But that I wanted to say that paralyzing anxiety that I was dealing with, that did resolve, because what happened was when I did Dan's work, I started walking and then running. And now that kind of got me out of it, because now I run like 3 to 5 miles 7 days a week. And it's
Yeah,
just become, and I'm even before Lyme disease, I mean, I used to run off and on my whole life, but never very much, not like I am now. And at my
yeah.
age especially, but so now
No,
I
that's
do
good.
that. Yeah, yeah, that has been completely life-saving, because even when I feel like, oh, I get this dread feeling and like I feel like everything's just hopeless, I will just
Yeah,
say, okay, well, I'm just gonna go running and prove that I'm totally fine. Because I do have
yeah,
fears of relapsing and getting sick again, even though I don't have symptoms. Um,
right.
okay, so the anxiety, and then the second thing that happened last October, after more than 10 years of not working at all, after working my entire life, my whole life I've worked at some job, you know? So
Yeah,
anyway, in October, I was scared. I didn't know if I was going to be able to do it, but I went back and started working. Started with 2 or 3 days a week. And by
yeah.
the end of the month, I was working full time 5 days a week.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, so it's kind of I feel like I'm a success story in that, because there was a time, even maybe 2 years, like even a year ago, I think wasn't sure if I'd ever be able to work again.
Right. Yeah, I know
And
that feeling.
yeah, right. And so I really thought I thought this is it for me.
Yeah,
And now I'm working.
disability. You're going to be on
Yeah,
disability for the rest of your
yep,
life, and you're going to be a
yep,
person alone in a room
yep.
somewhere, like
I'm
a
just
freak
gonna
show.
die
Yeah,
alone here in my place. Exactly, I thought that. So now I'm working 5 days a week. So now that what I'm dealing with makes completely no sense to me, because I got through all of this very huge obstacles, and
yeah,
now I have this ridiculous um like what, okay, let me just say what as soon as I walk in my door, it's like it's like a wave. I just see
yeah,
my environment and a wave comes over me of like, oh my God. Um, and it's like kind of a doom and gloom feeling. And it's much subtler now than before I did the work, the mind body work
yeah,
before. But I literally want to go, like, if I don't come on my computer and get on my meetings, or because I'm involved in a couple courses and doing some programs not related to mind body, but I'll just go to my bed and want to lay down in my bed. That's my
yeah.
spot.
You're avoiding it. You're avoiding
Because
the alarms.
I spent 10 years in that bed. So I felt like in the hearing how you approach things, Helmut, I felt like you could, I feel like I have some blind spots,
Yeah.
and I did start doing the visualizations. I've never
Are
done
you
that.
able to do the visual? Some people
Yes,
can't.
yes,
Yeah. Okay, good.
yes,
That's
yes.
amazing. That's going to be huge. Please
Okay,
stick to it. Do not miss a day. Fucking do it every day, no matter what.
okay.
Elevate during the day. If you can find an hour,
I don't
elevate. I don't know if you like to
understand what you mean
dance.
by, I don't understand elevate, except that just to do
Elevate
fun
means
things.
it's like when with visualizations, we're trying to we're trying to bring the baseline down because you're still in a survival state, right? The baseline's at like 1,000, it's supposed to be at 0, right? So we want to, with visualization, you want to sit and dose dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins. So we want to pull it down, eventually back down to standby, and that takes time. So that's why I say 1 hour a day, um, and to stick to it, because like if you do that for a year, that's 365 hours. For me, I did three. I'm still do them 3.5 years. That's all together. That adds up. Plus, when you're going to be doing elevating, you're engaging in something throughout the day that you really enjoy. That's also making you sit and dose. So either it's going for a walk, just to go for a walk, not to get rid of anything, not to burn cortisol, not to just to because you're
So
enjoying the walk.
not running.
Right. Now, you could be, if you enjoy running, not doing running because you're trying to get rid of anything.
No, I just run because that's what I do.
Yeah. Do you enjoy doing it? You love it?
Yes,
Okay, good. So if you want, you can, do you like dancing? Listening to music?
yes, yes.
Okay. So add that into your rotation. for me, it's what I did is I had a routine throughout the day. I know that you work, so you try to find ways to pack your schedule and have that as like your thing that you do every day. So you, for me, it was like I get up in the morning, I make my bed, listen to a daily dare. Not anymore, but that was my routine. I listen to a daily dare, listen to one of Dan's videos or one of my videos or both of our videos, and then you get going with your day, right? But in the morning, I did my visuals. I did my visuals all at once so that I didn't break it up during the day because sometimes when the day gets busy, people go, "Oh, you know what? I don't have enough time to do the last 30 minutes." And then they start to uh, slip with the program, right? So try to do your visuals at once if you can, especially if you're a person that has a day that's already scheduled out. Stick to it and then find a way to listen to music that you really enjoy that makes you want to dance. You don't have to physically dance like if you have problems with dancing or whatever. Uh, you will just something that you can move to, kind of like, right? It doesn't have to be like full out, you know. Um,
I kind of do that, a kind of a version of that when I run, because I put my favorite music and
yeah,
I like, it really, it gets me in a really good place.
okay. Yeah. All right. Well, you can try well, for me, I did 1 hour of dancing, and then I did my like 3 hours of walking every day. So, eventually, I know you got other things to do, but eventually we want to see if we can implement the elevating throughout our day. So, like if you go to work, put some music on and try to get into it while you're in your car, you're coming home from work. If you have an hour lunch or something, maybe go for a walk and listen to music or something that you can engage in as much as possible, right? Because if you, especially if you're going to work or whatever, we want to find as many chances, opportunities that we can to elevate. In the beginning, it's 1 hour a day, just so that we create a habit and that we do it no matter what. But eventually, we want to get to a point where we try to see if we can do it throughout the day. So if you're coming home, you got to do the dishes. Okay, put some music on and kind of, make it a fun engagement, the dishes with listening to music. We try to look for little opportunities to elevate.
That's, okay, so I have a question about this.
Yeah.
So my thing is at home, like, I used to be completely functional at home, clean. I actually used to like to clean and organize and make my environment very, how I like it and work on
Yeah.
it and, rearrange. And what about, so here's, this is my kind of a dilemma. Do I, like, if I want to do something like that, I have to white knuckle it and get all this momentum and like, okay, now I'm gonna go like clean out that drawer and then it's gonna be go. And it takes me, so is that part of the recovery or not?
Um, Well, with you'll notice that you're gonna find out things that you're gonna expose yourself to eventually. Like going home, it seems like
Just
you
being
engage
home
a
is
lot.
exposing myself, just being here.
Yeah, but you mentioned it after work, you get home and that's when the shit hits the fan,
It
so to
doesn't
speak.
matter though. In the week, Saturday, Sunday, when I'm not working is the worst for me because if I'm here.
'Cause you're at home all the time.
Yes,
Right. So when you're at work, you're engaging in things,
yes,
right? You're keeping your mind busy. You're
yes.
right. So you have a routine. Everything's good. You're in a way you're almost distracting because here comes the anticipatory time. Okay, home. Oh fuck. Here we go.
Hmm?
Anticipatory. You're driving. You're like fuck. 5, 3, 2, 1. Here's home. Here we
Yes,
go. And it's always going to meet you there because you've programmed it that's a danger zone, and the brain is only protecting you. It's only this job is to protect you, and it's doing its job by turning on the alarms, right? Turning them. Okay, here we go, danger zone. Turning them on. But we want to have it where we turn them off, turn them off permanently. So the way to do that eventually is you have to expose yourself to being at home without trying to fill up the time to keep yourself busy to distract, and avoid, right? So you have to um, be aware of not white knuckling, not surviving through,
mhm,
exposing yourself to situations. You might have to go do this incrementally and because it could be a lot to fully head first expose yourself to things. So um, the way we do it, the way we show a message of safety is how you sit in the danger. So right now, home is danger,
mhm,
right? And your
yes,
brain is showing you that. It's very clear, right?
yes.
So we want to when you go home, allow yourself to get uncomfortable. So do you ever notice that you're resisting yourself being uncomfortable at home?
all the time.
Yeah.
Except, so
So you
that's
want
when I go in my bed or I go, or right now when I'm talking to you, I'm okay because I'm not looking around and I'm not,
you're
right?
engaging and you're
Yeah,
distracting. Yeah.
yeah, but if I'm not talking to someone on the phone, or then I'm in my bed, like doing something, yes, like hopefully somewhat productive, that I have to like do something on my phone or something, like laying in my bed, I mean, and it,
Yeah. And that's
yeah,
what keeps the program running. So the first step is to when you next time when you're well, start like tomorrow after work, you come home, try to make note of all the things that you're doing, being aware of where you're resisting, because being aware of resistance is very difficult because we're not aware of it. Because our brain creates these habits that are so natural, right? It creates neural pathways and it just comes natural. So
Mhm.
throughout the day, even before you go home, think of, oh, I'm thinking about this. And what am I doing? I'm trying to distract. Do I turn the volume up in the music? Or am I trying to look at the outside while I'm driving? I'm at home now. So what am I running to? I'm gonna run to go on the computer or my phone. Be aware of all these things because those are the things you're going to be tackling eventually. And then after that, you're going to allow yourself to let the alarm ring. So you're going to feel uncomfortable. This is my favorite saying. You're going to feel like shit,
Mhm.
right? And you need to feel like shit over and over and over and over and over and over again. Because when you face it, right, when you take away the resistance and the fight and the white knuckling, right? When you white knuckle and you resist, what you resist persists, right? It just brings the baseline up. And when the baseline up, this is your security system. When it goes up, what's it going to do? It's going to send more alarms. And you've already taken care of the physical alarm, so it sends more mental alarms. And
Yes,
it's already decided that this area is off limits. It's danger because you've programmed it that way. And your brain's just there to help you. It's there for backup, right? Because it's perceiving that there's ligers everywhere in that home. So you got to change the association of that program by exposing yourself to the old program, which you're going to feel uncomfortable with. And it's going to feel like shit. And you have to be aware that you're white knuckling, surviving through. So this is going to take time, right? So ahead of time, you're going to think, okay, I got to expose myself to this. I have to sometimes not run to distract. I have to walk slowly somewhere and do something just to do something, maybe um, something where I'm kind of allowing my brain to throw me an alarm and I'm going to accept it, but I'm going to give it a different response this time. I'm going to give it a response of safety about by just allowing it to be there, right? Instead of like, oh fuck, here we go. What am I going to do? I'm going to okay, yeah, we'll do the right? And then you're in a state of fight or flight and you're reaffirming the alarm. Instead, you're going to sit through that fear, right? And sure, grab your phone and check if there's any emails you got to go through, but kind of go slowly through it. Drag it out. Feel uncomfortable, feel like shit, feel the fear, and then engage. So you got to start finding things that you can engage in, that you enjoy. So if it's music again, or go outside for a walk again, right? A nice walk. Um, Maybe do a little bit more because you do a lot of running. So
yeah,
implement some.
yeah, when I'm outside walking, because I go around here, I'm,
Yeah,
I'm, I'm fine.
that's good. So we're gonna
Yeah.
go in and out, right? So while we're in, we're gonna find things to engage inside the home, right?
Mhm.
Maybe music, maybe dancing, because nothing's better. These are opportunities. Being in the home where the danger is an opportunity for you to change the program. So when you're inside doing, sitting in the danger, the best ways to change them is to celebrate and dance in the home, even while you feel like shit. So remember, even though you feel like shit while you're sitting through the danger, does not mean it's not working. It just means
Okay.
you're sitting through the old program.
Yeah,
It's gonna eventually work in the long run. So all this accumulative work that you're doing now, the oh fuck, I feel like shit, but I'm changing my response while I'm in the shit, allowing it. Okay, I'm not gonna try to fight it. I'm not gonna try to distract it. I'm gonna let it do its thing and let it run wild. I'm actually gonna ask for more, right? Because we really, really want to take away the resistance. At the end of the day, it's the fight and the resistance that we're trying to take away. Because if you do that, you're allowing your baseline to finally come down, which lessens the alarms. It's kind of like the sideway into the house. Well, theoretically speaking. So
Okay.
these are your opportunities. Try to do this. Well, you're going to be doing this every day anyway, right? So change
Right.
your response.
Right.
Allow the fear to happen. Let yourself feel uncomfortable. Learn to get to be okay with being scared, and then engage. And then while you're engaging, it's still going to tap you on the shoulder and bug you. Bring it with you. Go, okay, we're going to do the dishes. And I don't care like if I, if it turns out to be a shit show, I hope it does turn into a shit show. I want you to come with me. And once in a while, if it's tapping on the shoulder, take a minute and process it. Go, okay, well, what are you sending me? What thank first you can thank it. Go, thank you for sending me the alarm because you're just here to protect me. I appreciate that.
Mhm.
But right now we're gonna engage in cutting the lawn, or we're gonna move these boxes over here, or I gotta sweep the floor. So you're gonna come with me, and you can tell me all you want. Okay, that's fine. I'm listening, but I want you to engage with me in this activity that we're doing. And with repetition, over and over and over again, you're gonna have the alarms go from a 10 with exposure over and over and over again, saying the right response, from a 10 to a 5 to 3 to 0 to a meh. So the more you change the response and you keep doing this, eventually uh, you're not gonna give a shit about coming home. It's gonna be neutralized. That's our goal, is to neutralize that
Neutral. Yeah.
alarm and turn it off.
Yeah.
We want to turn that alarm off. And also you might have just anxiety in general. Like once you turn these alarms off at the home, the brain might still send you anxiety, and might not have a target anymore, right? Or it might send you a new phobia, or it might send you, right? Because it's like, fuck, we're getting rid of all these targets. We'll just keep the anxiety going. We'll give her more OCD looping thoughts, right? So it's gonna do that
Yeah.
for a while.
My OCD, those looping thoughts for me are like, why is this happening to me? Why do I feel like this at home? Why this? Why can't I break through this? Why, you know, it's like I'm trying to, it's some kind of like process to figure something out. And
It
it
has
just
to.
goes over and over.
Yeah, it wants you to investigate because it's perceiving
Right,
danger, and it wants
right.
wants you to find safety, right?
Find some technique, some strategy.
Yes, anything. It'll do anything to get your attention to um, do something now because it thinks there's a tiger on your back, and that's its job. It's doing its job. And what we got to do is we got to allow it to do that. And you got to eventually we're going to change that program. But while you change the program, you're going to be sitting in the old program,
Okay.
which you're going to feel uncomfortable. And that's why I tell people, just so you know ahead of time, you're going to feel uncomfortable. You're going to feel like shit, and actually demand that you feel like shit. So you can even tell yourself, I hope I feel like this for the next 3 weeks. Every time I come home, I
Mhm.
better have these alarms ringing. I better
Well,
feel
they
like
all,
shit.
of course they're gonna be. They're not, it's not like an option, you
Right.
know?
No, but you're gonna take the wheel, right? You're gonna
Like tell
demand
it,
it to come here.
okay,
You're
okay,
gonna demand
okay,
it, right? You're gonna
okay.
you're gonna take away the resistance of it. Instead of when you get home, go, you're gonna go,
Yeah.
give me more. And actually, I want you to come tomorrow and the next day and the next day. And then we'll do that with repetition. And then eventually this is how you slowly turn off the alarms,
Mm.
right? So that'll be your first homework, I could say. And stick to the program.
Yeah,
Start
I
the
mean,
program and do it every day.
I just started doing the visualization since I got in communication with you, and
Yeah.
um I was actually surprised at um how it made me, even I don't, I think I maybe even the last couple of days felt a little bit more a little calmer, and but when I was doing them, for sure, I was surprised at how pleasurable it was.
I love it. I still
Yeah.
do them. I don't do it for health. I do them just because I love it, and it helps me with everything else in my life, like with
Mhm.
business and relationships and whatever. It's just I think people should have a meeting with themselves anyway, right? You have like a book and go, what are we doing with it? Okay, we're doing this. We're sticking to this. We have goals. We have, and it's a time where it's supposed to be, a cozy time with yourself. For me, I did it in my car because the car is quiet. You can park anywhere you want near a trail in the forest. It's really, calming, and you look forward to it. Some people, the way they make it sound, like if you go into YouTube, some people are like, oh, I hate visuals. I just don't like doing it. Oh my God, I have to do a whole hour. I don't want to do it. Right? It shouldn't be like that. It should be, I fucking can't wait to do my hour today. And tomorrow my routine's already set. I have my calendar, right? So make sure you got a calendar set with your day so you have a routine ready. And if you have some things you got to do that day, like after work, you got to go to the grocery store, you got post-it notes, use them. That's what I did. So I'm always on track because your brain's going to hijack you as much as possible because that's what it's supposed to do. You might know this stuff like the back of your back, like you might know it inside out, but at that moment when you're in the thick of it, you're going to forget everything.
Mhm.
So post-it notes are really huge. They
Okay.
keep you on track. So use them if you can. And I also mentioned that I think in my program playlist. So make sure you watch all those videos and get
I
started.
did watch them
And
and yeah, I'll watch them again.
awesome.
Thank you.
Well, nice to have you. That was good.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Well, let's go over to Kaishalya. I fucked up your name. Sorry, man. And then we'll go to Rachel.
I hope you don't mind if I don't switch on the video. Actually, it's 3 a.m. here. I'm almost about to
That's
doze
okay.
off.
Yeah, it's okay.
So
Give us a
yeah,
little gist of what you went through
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah, 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 yeah.
okay.
So I started having panic attacks as a kid. And my parents didn't know that those were panic attacks, and neither didn't I didn't know that those were panic attacks. But I used to have them now and then, but I used to keep crying for hours and hours, and nobody used to get what's happening. In 2010, my mother, you know, s- she started having symptoms, and she was diagnosed with frontotemporal dementia. And then I kind of had a kind of a setback in life, and affected me emotionally as well. And I was extremely hyper competitive in school as well. So I was
A lot
in,
of stress.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
lots of
was a type
stress.
C personality, and I was looking for validation. Now I can like clearly say that it was all because of, you know, validation.
Yeah.
So yeah, I started having panic attacks in school, and that escalated to the point that I couldn't leave my room,
Yeah.
and I had to drop out of school. And
Okay.
luckily, one of my teachers, he was seeing a psychiatrist, so he recommended my parents to, just take me to a psychiatrist maybe. And there
Yep.
I was diagnosed with OCD and generalized anxiety disorder, along with, some bouts of depression.
Wow.
I didn't much about it. I started taking the medicines. Next year, I topped my school. I was placed first. So that was fitting my type A personality agenda that, I'm popping all these pills as a 16, 17-year-old child, and I'm performing well.
Yeah.
So, I was on SSRIs and escitalopram since 2013, 12,
Yep.
13. And I continued it way till throughout my college. I graduated, top of my class, and continuing on this thing theme, I tried attempting one of the toughest exams in the world. Around more than 1 million people write the exam, and around 500 are selected for it. It's for
Wow. That's a lot of pressure, man. That's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, and I was studying around 10 to 12 hours a day for 5 years for it.
Oh, shit.
Uh,
Well, that
yeah,
makes
so
sense.
yeah, I basically went crazy
Yeah.
studying for it, and like typical type A personality. I could have done something else, something less socially. Everything was about prestige and making a career for me.
Did you have a
Um,
lot of pressure with your parents? Did your parents or your father or your
uh,
family?
Actually, my father wanted me to come to the US. Like my sister came to the US. She's a doctor there.
Yeah.
Typical Asian parents. My father was like, you should go to the US, but I wanted to do even something which is extremely tough.
Yeah.
Like my ego was like, okay, you going to the US is the easier thing, like, writing the GRE or the SAT, and that was not something that was really challenging for me. I wanted
Okay.
to compete in a million people and be at the top of it. So that was the
Yeah.
extent of my mania. Anyway, so
Okay. Well,
I prepared.
let's forward. Yeah,
Yeah,
let's forward to
yeah.
your perfect
Forwarded
storm.
to 2021. I was
Yep.
preparing for the exam, and I started falling sick again and again. And
Yep.
I was on all these anti anxiety pills and everything. And I kept on falling ill, and the doctors weren't able to diagnose it. And
Oh.
fast forward 1 year, I was when I got the job, I was almost bedridden after just 6 months of joining in that the job. And I got tested everywhere, and finally I was diagnosed with a infection. It's called brucellosis. And it's like Lyme disease. There are so many parallels with Lyme disease. It gets into your body and it starts rewiring your brain to produce an immune response that's actually conducive to it. So
Okay.
it's extremely it's a very shifty kind of a bacteria. And when it gets chronic, so if it's an acute stage, you stay treated with antibiotics, you are pretty much okay. But if it gets chronic like Lyme, it gets extremely difficult to treat. And it my body wasn't producing the immune response that was required to treat the bacteria infection. And I was relapsing again and again. And in 2023, I relapsed again. In January 2023, I was bedridden. I was on IV antibiotics for like 6 months. And even after completing my antibiotic course, when I didn't improve, the doctors told me that this thing is never going to go away. Uh, I went to other doctors. They were diagnosed me with the rheumatologist diagnosed with me with this fibromyalgia. Then I was diagnosed with chronic fatigue. Then I was
Yeah.
diagnosed with IBS. Then I was diagnosed with brain fog, all these sorts of. I was put on. I was diagnosed with POTS. I was put on
Yep.
around 10 to 15 medications.
Oh, fuck.
And I was. I pretty much wanted to end my life. As it is, my mother was in her last stages. She's in her last stages of frontotemporal dementia. My
That's
father
hard,
also
man.
Yeah, and my
You've been
father
through a
also
lot
had
of
a
shit.
brain. Yeah, my father had a brain stroke as well.
Oh,
And I was the only one looking after them. And I had to get my father admitted to another hospital in another city. So I was daily traveling. While I was sick, I was taking care of my mother in the morning and in the evening, and in the afternoon I used to stay with my dad in another city. I should take a
yeah.
train every day and travel. So you know uh, um, I was kind of on the verge of taking my life in 2023. But by chance, I stumbled upon this some mind body connection video or something. And it talked about sympathetic dominance, and I just looked at my symptoms and I was like, oh my god, okay, what is going on? So maybe maybe this is going on with me. And I wasn't sure. So I
Yep.
researched about, okay, what can I do to come out of that sympathetic dominance? So it was deep breathing, and then visualizations and everything. So I started very slow. I couldn't even sit for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Slowly I increased my time period. Over a period of months, I could voluntarily control my heartbeat. I could take it to 130, bring it down to 50 within a span of 30 seconds. That was
Nice.
the level of, but yeah, that was through a technique, through a yogic technique that I learned over a course. But yeah, so fast forward in April, by April, I started watching your videos in February, around February 2024 this year.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
I kind of so till then I hadn't really started physically being very active. Even though I was, doing the normal stuff, I could go to the market, I could go anywhere.
Yeah.
So, using that, the exposure thing and, really seeing that, I was actually resisting my own, symptoms and, it was all a, this thing. So, yeah, so I started with it. I started exposing myself bit by bit to, physical this thing. And, by April, I was, I was gymming and I was lifting heavy weights for the first
Nice.
time in 3 years.
Awesome.
Um, the only thing I did incorrectly, which I feel in hindsight now, is because that infection came back, as I told you. What I feel is that in that
Back.
pacing, that mental pattern of I wanted to be like, I want to just get done with it, and I couldn't respect the process where things take time, and I started rushing. And what I noticed was that again, that is a kind of a type A this thing that okay, I want to do this fast, fast, get it done with it, and then so
That's why
I
I keep
started
telling
having,
people. That's why I say
yeah.
the videos, keep going no matter what. Just because, start feeling better, symptoms start to go away, people stop. And then it
Mm,
just takes something small, life stressor, something with your dad, your mom, whatever. Boom.
mm,
The bucket gets
and
full real quick.
yeah,
Symptoms come back.
and my immune system that was kind of controlling the bacterial infection that had gone into remission,
Yeah.
with the added stressor on myself, it somehow came back, and
Right.
I kind of crashed. And
Right.
over a period of time, the doctors had told me that I had actually reversed the damage that had been done to my immune reaction, as in my body had normally started fighting with the bacteria. And even now that I've relapsed, the doctors have told me that my inflammatory markers have gone up, and my body is actually fighting the infection rather than last year it couldn't even fight the infection, and that is why it was relapsing. So yeah,
You
I
just have more
I
work to do. You just got to keep
yeah,
going. That's it. Don't let this
I feel
give you too
I what
much
I
doubt where
felt
you're like
is,
starting from the beginning again. You're not
yeah,
starting from the beginning. Just keep going. Make sure
I
you're doing the program. Are you doing the program?
yeah, I'm like I'm doing visualizations for around 2 to 3 hours a day now
Holy
since
shit,
I
that's
got
a lot.
into,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Well,
Uh,
whatever you got to do.
yeah, so I don't do it like forcefully. What I do, I want to enjoy it. So that's the thing that I try to enjoy that.
Do you
And
do
I'm
elevating at all? Are you out walking, dancing, stuff like that
uh
for an
like
hour?
I've been bedridden for the last 1 week. Like tomorrow I'll be hospitalized.
Okay.
uh I'll have to, I'm arranging something at my home so that I don't have to go to a hospital. But
Okay.
right now, what my focus is, not being miserable even if I'm sick. I feel there's a difference between being sick and mentally being miserable. And
Yeah.
I don't want to be mentally miserable. And my practice, I feel, is from here is that not resisting and treating this disease as something that is extremely bad, and that
Right.
I feel the mental, it's like it's kind of exposure only, like I'm getting exposed to something, but it is extremely tough. I mean,
Yeah, of
it's
course.
not easy, but I feel that is a part of my practice. And what I noticed was that, when I got sick, I felt so hopeless. But when I started brain retraining, I had the same symptoms in my body, but my total mindset was totally opposite of,
Right.
yeah. So even with the same symptoms, what I've realized is that, my disease doesn't seem to be so terrible.
Right. Just you got to
So
keep going, man. Keep going. I know you're going through a lot of stress, so you do the best you can, right? You try to implement the program with the best you can.
yeah,
You try to elevate.
yeah, I
And I
would,
know you're dealing with things with your
yeah, yeah.
father and your mom, and you do the best you can. And you know what? You will get there. It's just you got to stick with it, and you will. you know, the baseline will start to come down, especially if you're doing 3 hours a day. That's awesome, right? And then you
Yeah.
try to do some elevating, and you stick with these meetings with us, right?
Yeah.
It's gonna get there. You're gonna get there. You're stay on the path no matter what.
Yeah. So, yeah, if I just wanted to I don't know if you could just give a brief glimpse about what exactly do you do in visualization, because like my visualization is extremely relaxing. Like it takes me to some place where you know I don't feel that I'm on Earth. It's
Yeah.
crazy. Like uh
Well, with me,
like
okay, with visualizations, what I did is I had a book. I don't have a book with me here. Let's say a book like this, right? And then
yeah.
you go today and you get like 50 ideas from the past and like another 50 of the future, right? So the past of your life where things were pleasant, where they were amazing, go back in time and talk about them in detail, but make sure you speak them. Don't think them, speak, but speak out loud. Speak them. Take your phone, your cell phone if you can, and press record, right? So you're forced to
Hmm.
speak into your phone, right? And that's where you record your visuals because you can always listen to them also. And so you do detailed. You talk about, let's say you went fishing with your dad and you guys caught two fish and it was a beautiful day, and then you guys made sandwiches, and he was wearing a white shirt with this funny band on it, and you were like, you guys were laughing because it was uh, a funny thing happened or whatever. And then you get real detail about it, like you're there. And then the next half hour you go into the future, and then you talk about all the things you're doing, like you got a business, you got you got a big home, you're um walking every day in your new property, you're showing your family that came over from the States, you're giving them a tour, things like that. So you're creating your reality in the future,
Hmm.
and then you make sure you write it all in your book ahead of time so that when you do your visuals, you're not wondering what you're doing. You're not wasting time. You go right to your book and you go, we're doing this one. Okay, now we're doing this one. Now two futures. Okay, this one and this one. And there you go. And there's your visualization session done. And then you got to do your elevating. So find something that you can do, listen to music, dance a little bit, right? If you're at home, find a spot where you can dance, whatever you can do, and engage in find things that you can engage in, and allow the thoughts, allow the symptoms to be there, let them do their thing, right? Try to catch yourself from ruminating, trying to figure out, trying to analyze all these labels that the doctors give. Just put it all on the shelf, right? If you have to go to the doctor's appointments, go, right? But the things that they tell you, just it's all temporary. You put it on the shelf and you keep moving forward, right? That's what you're doing from now.
Yeah, and one thing that I've noticed is that during extremely, like when I go deep into meditation, sometimes automatically I start having pleasant memories of my childhood. They
Awesome.
start coming up. That's number one.
Yep.
Number two is that I start getting epiphanies. I like it's
Downloads.
like
Yep.
some higher this thing automatically starts telling me something I'm not even thinking about it, and it just comes to me like.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's like your tube light or your brain just goes off. Okay, wow, now I understand what's going on.
With
uh
me, I didn't see a picture, I didn't hear a voice. I would just say something and I'd be like, did I just say that? Wow, that makes sense. Like it was like a
yeah,
knowing
yeah,
that came
yeah,
out of
I
my
don't,
my
yeah,
voice.
I feel the same. Like I don't hear a voice, but it's like some higher medium it's telling me, but I don't hear them whispering something in my ear. It's like just it just comes to me.
Yeah,
It's
same.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's
So
amazing.
I've noticed that as well. That, and that is what made me come this far in my journey, because I didn't go through any program or any this thing, and it was just sheer destiny, luck, and I discovered your YouTube channel as well, and I found it to be one of the best I've channels I've seen on the this thing.
Thanks, man. I
So
appreciate that.
yeah, because I could relate to all of your experiences, and especially when I started recovering and, doing my exercise, and my anxiety started going up, and then, I knew that, okay, what you're talking is, okay, I'm coming out of the freeze response, and I'm maybe coming into the flight, and, coming down the
Yeah.
polyvagal ladder, and, that's why the anxiety is coming up. And, I stopped hating my anxiety then, because I knew that, okay, this is something that's better than the previous thing that I was going through. And
Yeah,
that is
you're doing
why
the
I
work.
told you, yeah,
Yeah,
I,
you're
I
doing
could
the work.
relate. I could
Yeah.
relate really well to you. And uh, yeah, so that's that. Yeah, and the best thing was that stop resisting. That was something that I was always doing. Resisting. My whole life was about resisting something. And
Yeah, I know.
what I found was that when you stop resisting and just let it be and accept it, then that thing loses its power, and
Yeah.
totally it just disappears. It's like, okay, where my the whole this thing is about resisting it. And
Yeah.
I've used the concept to, other areas of my life, in relationships, etc. A lot
Yeah,
of
it's
times I feel
powerful.
that, yeah,
Exposure and taking away the resistance for me was the
yeah, yeah.
biggest golden
And
nuggets.
the toughest part was being mindful of the resistance, because you don't want to feel that something. That is why you're resisting it, because you don't want to
Yeah.
feel it.
Yeah.
And
You're like, right?
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
resist. Right.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
makes sense.
So, that comes in a really peaceful, mindful state. And that is where the visualizations really help, because they take you to really extremely deeply relaxing states where you are at a vantage point where you can actually view your resistance and observe it, and, be aware of it, and then accept it. That takes a higher vantage point to be at.
Yeah.
So,
Allow it, let it do its thing, and then make sure that
yeah,
the big ending part is engage. Sometimes
yeah,
I forgot it. I would allow, but I would forget, oh, I gotta engage. Because you can, the brain will let you allow all day, and then you start to refire that loop again. So we want to allow, but then give it a time limit and then go, okay, let's engage. Whatever thought you have, bring it with you on your shoulder.
yeah. It's I watched one of your videos and I downloaded the Dare app as well. Because
Okay,
I
good.
think so.
Keep on track.
Yeah, so hopefully let's hope that, everything goes fine.
Oh, it will. Just as long as you keep on track, the brain will have no choice but to change, right? So be consistent.
Yeah, and one thing that I noticed was that in these infections, I feel that your brain goes to a state where it's extremely miserable, and besides the disease, the state of the mind is miserable. So
Yeah.
if we can, start at least changing that, changing the disease immediately is not possible. But if we can start changing the state of our mind, that makes even unpleasant experiences much more tolerable, even pleasant.
Yeah.
So
So allowing, elevating, visuals, right? All these things together work accumulatively to bring down the baseline. So that's why all of the steps they work together to bring the baseline down. And that's what we
yeah,
want. We want to bring that baseline down and empty your bucket. All right, man. Thanks. I
thank you
gotta
so
switch
much.
it out to somebody else. But thanks for joining, and make sure you keep joining with every session that we have on. Was it Wednesdays you're coming? All right. All right, Rachel. How are you? Just give us the gist of what brought you here and your perfect storm and some of the gist of your symptoms.
Sure. Helmut, thank you. I really have enjoyed watching your videos. I really wish I would have found them sooner, but we find
Thanks.
things when we find them. I just found them maybe a couple of weeks ago, and it's really uplifting listening to your videos. Basically, I've been dealing with this for a very long time. The first time that I broke out with like a whole bunch of sensations and symptoms was when I was 21. I'm now 46.
Yep.
It kind of resolved like by the time I was around 30, and then I moved to Denver. And I don't know if all right, like I don't know if it's a conditional response or whatever, but something with the high altitude, it's like I broke out in a whole new group of sensations and symptoms that I didn't realize were even related to what had happened in my 20s. Like I thought, because now it was very high on like the pain dimension. And I didn't even like connect that it was the same, that they were related, like for a very long time. So finally I decided to leave Denver after 10 years. Because I thought that was going to cure my symptoms. So I literally like moved to a new city. I live in Chicago now. I thought like the return to regular altitude would like just, I don't know, every trip I took here I felt really good, and then as soon as I moved here I was dealing with the same fucking shit that I've been dealing with since I moved to Denver. So it was like crazy, just
It's
crazy.
It's not the altitude. It's not the altitude. It's just it was the drop in your bucket, and then you thought it was the altitude, and it got the bad rap. So now you're in Chicago and you feel like shit.
Put pressure. Altitude does put pressure on your system. I mean, like athletes have trouble performing at the same capacity, but yes, like there's something besides the altitude. So I finally like realized that this is all part of the same thing. Now it took me about 4 to 5 years of researching like the mind body world to accept the mind body like approach, and that it's the brain is like the brain perceiving danger. I mean, I literally had to study for like 4 to 5 years. While I know like everybody on YouTube that does stuff in this area, I just was so skeptical, and I didn't know anybody personally, like that I wasn't convinced like of what, and sometimes like people explain it different ways and it's not very clear what exactly they're saying is what they're saying the problem is and what they're saying the solution is. So I was just like very confused for a long time.
Like the mind body space is great and all, but you just like anything else, there's also rabbit holes that are not necessary, and there's a lot of misinformation and a lot of shit that we don't need, right? So
Totally.
it's the same. You got to run into that. Yeah.
I mean, it is another rabbit hole, really, because there's just so many different. So much stuff, so much area around, and there's so many people that make it so complicated that you don't really know what the hell they're talking about, and then getting past people, like, are people saying that I have a psychological disorder? I know what I'm experiencing is real, and like.
Did you take any programs at all? Have you been using any programs or anything?
So last summer, I took the 8-week pain reprocessing therapy Zoom class by Alan Gordon. He didn't teach the class. They have other people that are teaching it, but it's like the same ideas as his book, The Way Out. So I took that program. It was an 8-week Zoom class. And at the end of the program, I was still confused. I was still like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, what am I doing exactly? But I'm just going to start doing it. Like, I'm going to start doing stuff. And it sunk in more. Like, I'll definitely say, like, after I took that program, and then, like, for 3 months after that program, it's like things sunk in even deeper. And I was like, all right, now I'm like doing these things. I still don't know, like, I mean, looking back on it now, so I've been for like 6 months probably doing more of a like I'm in the right direction for the past 6 months. So it took like a couple months after that class. And for a long time, I was doing stuff with like way too much pressure. I was doing like, I don't know, I was like, maybe if I meditate for like 5 hours a day and do like 5 hours of something else, which is not possible. But I thought like maybe it was like, if I spend the right amount of time doing it, if I do the right thing, I was on all of that. Like it was very pressurized. And I
couldn't meditate. But the meditation, it was just giving my brain an opportunity to hijack me. If I had, try to be, silence my brain would be like, sweet, let's get them. Right. I wouldn't have been able to do that.
Right. I mean, I don't know. There's lots of things that fall under like, I don't know sometimes what's meditation and what's not. Like I still do stuff I do somatic tracking. I do I have the
Yeah.
Nerva app, which is hypnotherapy, and it's like a 20-minute thing that you listen to, like, and it's
Yeah.
very much like somatic tracking.
Yeah.
And I really like that because it's helped me with how I think, like any of the stuff that's along the lines of somatic tracking, has helped me to get more comfortable with accepting sensations, feeling sensations, expanding, willing
allowing
to
them.
anything.
Yeah.
I downloaded the Dare app because I heard about that from you, and I've been doing one of their, and it's in, what is the, I think it's, they have, they have their little different programs. There's one for health anxiety that is part of their
Yep.
free app. And I'm doing that one in particular, the episode number 4, which is making you get comfortable. It's like a visualization and getting comfortable with all the sensations in your body and letting your body, like turning everything back over to your body. Like I accept these anxious sensations, and I, release it to my body to, I forget exactly what it says, but it says something like that.
I use it for the daily dares. So I paid the $60. I only did the daily dares. I didn't use it for anything else because it was a lot of stuff, but nothing interested me. Just the daily dares. That's all I did.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff on there, and that's I'm probably will pay for it eventually. I'm kind of like, I still feel like I'm a little pressurized and I'm probably doing too much and maybe need to, like, I don't know, like chill or something. I don't know like exactly what I need to do, but I've improved. I'm definitely like my symptoms are less severe and less often, and I'm functioning.
Well, for anybody that goes on the, that does the coaching with me, I always ask that people do the program that I have and stick with it. Don't miss a day. Do the 1 hour visuals, 1 hour of elevating. Go through all the videos and try to learn how to be aware of resisting old behavior patterns, allowing and engaging, and yeah, all the pillars, and try to stick with that, and then try to show up for all the sessions, and we'll support you and we'll get you on the right track with exposure. Exposure is another big one. Exposing properly and learning to feel like shit, right? Learning to get uncomfortable is what you're going to learn here. It's a lot of things like there, right? A lot of things like there. So so that you can move forward, right? So if you want to simplify your some of the stuff, put some things on the shelf, or keep doing some of the things that you're doing, that's fine. Just that I ask that people try to stick to with my program, because then I know where you're at and I can say, well, because that's what worked for me, and this is how I try to help people with what I used.
Right, I understand. I'm starting with the visualization, so I've started doing them, not for an hour yet, but just doing them, seeing like what exactly I'm doing with them, I guess.
Are you able to do visualization? Some people can't. Are you able to find? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have a
good.
problem with that at all. Like, I don't
That's
have any
good.
problem doing that. And I wrote down, basically what I did was I started watching, I think I watched all the videos of your program, but I focused on the first 3 and took notes. I took notes on the visualizing one. And so I still have to kind of like look at that and follow that. Like, I can't just like, I don't know, it's not natural to me to like visualize and the whole thing. So I'm kind of like, have to sit with, like, have the notes in front of me and like look at it and then like do it. And I'm still
do what you got to do. Get some books, get some calendars, prepare, get some post-it notes, whatever you need to do. And then, for me in the beginning, it was a transition. I don't even count the first month because I was learning how to, do this, the work. So it takes time. There's a transitional period. So, that's normal.
Hey, Holly, what do you use the Post-it notes for? Can you explain that again?
Reminders. I use them for reminders. So if I was, I use them for, I have a video about this. I should post it I'll post it in the description of this one, where I use the Post-it notes.
Reminders of like a to-do, what to do?
No, yeah. So if you're in the, you know, if you're having the days where you're in the thick of it and you need to have because we'll forget everything, right? I would have these posted on my car. Like I'd have like 10 of these all over my car. And I'd be like, okay, allow, and then engage. And
Okay.
I'd have like buzzwords so that, because I would forget. I'd be like, oh, what do I do? Oh, just sit in the fear. Do nothing even, right? I'd have these little things
Okay.
that help me keep on track.
Okay.
So yeah, what I'll do is I'll well, number one, try to watch all my videos if you can, maybe one a day. Then you'll really get the gist of everything. And I'll try to link up the video so you can see what I use Post-it notes for.
Actually, I think I probably did see that video, but I just
Okay.
I couldn't remember. Yeah, there, okay, I get it. Thank you.
Awesome. All righty. Has anybody got anything else that they wanted to add? Anything that they've noticed? Or today is a little bit longer because we had to, you know, get people to introduce themselves. So if there's anything that Diane or Angela, you wanted to add or notice? No?
It was
I
great to
wanna-
hear
Good.
everyone's stories.
Yeah, it's interesting, eh? A lot of repetition, a lot of patterns
Yeah.
that
Oh yeah.
I'm sure you
Yeah.
guys noticed.
Yeah.
That
Especially
interesting.
the first story, Andrea, I was chewing on your story the whole time, thinking about
Yeah.
that. Very interesting.
No, this is
I-
this is good. Go ahead.
One
Yeah.
thing, I just wanted to say that what I really appreciate about your approach and your videos, Helmut, is number one, the sense of humor is great. It's just like, some of them I was dying laughing. Because this stuff is kind of funny.
Yeah.
I mean, like, for example, when I had the Lyme disease, I was very focused on, okay, I had a great doctor. I traveled to DC for treatment. And in the meantime, I thought, well, let me just see what other patients are doing. And you start getting connected with people on the internet to see well, as we all know, that is not a great place to go. And I was, to my credit, I was pretty good about staying away from these, going down a lot of rabbit holes, but literally it's impossible to get sucked in when you're in when you're sick and in a state of fear. And so I had, you know, the fears of started to be afraid of my living environment, like stuff off gassing or EMFs, water,
Everything.
Food. I don't, thank God. I've heard on your channel a lot about food intolerances, thank God. And
I
then
gotta do more.
Thank God I haven't had that one. But I was like did definitely, like, I didn't even have food intolerances, but I even stopped eating some foods because people were saying, oh, you shouldn't eat this, you shouldn't eat that, you should. And by the way, my doctor, this was not from my doctor. This was all on the internet. So it's just really funny because I look back and I think, wow, you know, even I was afraid to get a pet because the animals might have, you know, I don't know, some other infection that I might get. Just
I was scared
everything.
too.
It was terrible.
I've been there.
Terrible.
I've been down every rabbit hole, got sucked in left and right. My brain wasn't helping me. My brain was sucking. No, this and like I was, oh man, OCD, ruminating, everything. Brutal.
Who was talking about the elevation? I was, So I thought, oh, now I can't travel. I used to travel. Now I can't travel to high places, you know, because that'll affect me. And yeah, it was just terrible.
It tries it on. It's like, oh shit. Now it's, if you know, oh yeah, easily. Everything was.
We're gonna be going over time, so when I'm done, let me call you because I need to meditate when we're done with this. We got 3 new people.
Diane doesn't know her microphone is on.
Here we go.
This,
There you go.
that's why this approach is so empowering because you really, I mean, you really finally see, okay, this is not reality, you know?
Right.
This is none of this is
you choose your reality, but with
Yes.
whatever reality, you know, rabbit hole you want to crawl into.
Right.
That's your reality.
Right. It's great.
I just want to
Yeah.
add about the elevation. There are people who claim that their sensations and symptoms feel better at high altitude. So don't worry. Like
It's funny.
there's no,
Yeah.
you know, don't look for anything in that, please. Like really don't. I thought it was interesting that you lived in DC. So I used to live in DC, and at that time in my 20s, I went to a Lyme disease support group for a while, and I was curious if you had ever attended that, because they have a big Lyme disease support group in the DC area.
No, so I live between Chicago and Minneapolis, but I traveled to DC. My doctor was in DC, so I used to travel there. But I have attended here, I have attended here, Lyme support groups, especially at the beginning when I didn't know what was going on with me. And they were very helpful at the beginning because I didn't know, like, I thought, oh, I'll just do treatment for a couple months and be better. Well, it didn't turn out like that. So it was helpful to see that, all right, I'm not the only one that's, you know, I'm not alone, basically. But then after a while, you know, that it becomes kind of depressing a little bit if you, for me, staying in groups like that, because
Especially
again,
the Facebook groups. Facebook groups are horrible.
Yeah.
Especially with the moderators. If they're, you know, also ones that were sick for a long time, they don't want to hear about people recovering. They don't want to, you know, they take it upon themselves to, you know, say, you know what, and there's some of these groups have like 40,000 people, like the antihistamine or the histamine tolerance groups, and they got a lot of people's lives in their hands, and they're deciding, no, we're not going to let you share your story. No, you're going to keep bombing your gut with these, you know, protocols and supplements, and we're going to make sure that you might as well go on disability now, get used to this life, right? They don't like hearing when people have hope and actually recover, because it's like you're giving people false hope. No, get used to it, because they're like miserable Karens, and it's ruining people's lives. Literally.
It's crazy. It's crazy. The hostility is so crazy to me, because like I said, I was skeptical. It took me 4 or 5 years of listening to people to like absorb it, but I don't think I was ever like, I don't know, it's like there's this really strong, like they get really mad about hearing that people recover, or that there's any kind of, like you said, like any hope. And it's just the hostility is really something. I don't know. It's annoying.
Horrible.
I go to a phone group once a week, and I feel like the people that their hostility is extremely high, they like are actively trying to block the other people from hearing anything that might potentially be helpful. Like, I don't understand like why they have to chime in with like these negative, like constant negativity. Like they can't just let it be that, well, somebody else did this and it helped them. They can't like accept that. They have to jump in and say, no, this is bullshit. It doesn't work for anybody. It really is a peeve of mine, because, you know, I feel like
it's wrong. They're 1000% wrong. You can recover. You can get your life fucking back, right? It's the total opposite. But these people are so stuck in this reality that they want everybody else they want to drag everybody else with them, because they don't think it's fair. Like, well, I have a shitty life. You got to have one with me. You got to join me on this shit fucking boat that we're all going to sink like the Titanic. It's like they want to bring everybody with them. It's horrible. So I thought, you know, I'd be noble and start bombing people on all these Karens on these Facebook groups, but it didn't get me anywhere. It just got me blocked real quick. So now I'm like, you know what? I'll just make more noise on my channel, and hopefully they will find me and come, and then they will, you know, wake up and go, oh my God, there are answers. There are other ways I can get my life back, right? They don't have to go into this deep sleep, this you know, brainwashing sleep that they're in.
The other thing, Helmut, that I really liked about what you say is how you present the anxiety and what you went through. So I learned a lot from listening to your videos. You know, the ruminating thoughts. It's this thing about you talk about, and when I feel stressed out and anxious and I start getting those thoughts, it's almost like, and you've said this, like your brain will just latch on to any little thing that could be potentially It could be anything. And it's true. Like these things are not, when I'm in a normal state of mind, these things do not provoke anxiety. But when I'm in a fight or flight mode, my brain will just be like, start ruminating about some random thing. And it's terrible.
Yeah.
Like it will not shut off. It's just awful.
Yeah. When you start to see the patterns and you understand it works like clockwork, and then you become the person that steers your car. You're not in the back seat, right? Your amygdala is now in the front seat. But now when you start to learn this stuff, it's gonna be like, oh, okay, even though because it's smokes and mirrors, it feels so real, right? It creates this reality in front of you, but it's not, right? And then when you start to understand it and you start to get close with it and experience it and become friends with it, that's when you gain the leverage and you start taking over the steering wheel, right? And you get cocky with it, right? And then you're the grown adult in the relationship, and
Yes.
eventually you come out of it. And then you have the setbacks, which are always fun, but you need to have
Yes.
them to build the leverage. You need it.
Well, that's why I joined your group. It's sort of like I kind of thought I was getting through it and coming out on the other side, but that now it for whatever reason, it's been an issue again and really kind of impacting my life in a bigger way again. And so I can see kind of like what you said about this is something you just do as a lifestyle, that I need to incorporate these things that I'm gonna, like the visualization and the concept of elevating. I need to actually incorporate them just like I do running or just like I
Right.
do working. This just has
Yeah.
to make it a part of my life now. And then maybe if someday, who knows, maybe I'll stop doing it, but I don't know.
We don't want to move.
I thought it was done. I thought I was through with it and I'm not. So
No, you're not done. You're not done. That's okay. Nothing wrong with that. Because you know what? There's opportunities to
Mhm.
learn some more stuff because it's only going to help you for your future. So we're not going to, our goal is not to move loads around, right? Our goal is to empty these and bring
Yeah.
our baseline down and turn off alarms so that, when life happens and this is empty, life is going to keep doing this, that you'll be able to handle it with ease. So that's our goal.
Love that.
Yeah, I
All
feel
right.
like it's complete transformation. I don't know. That's
Yeah.
I feel like going through a transformation. I feel like it is like a complete transformation. I'm still in the process, but it's really interesting at this point.
It's a gift because we're learning a lot of cool shit, right? It is a gift. It's amazing.
Yes.
All right, guys, I'm gonna wrap it up. This was great. I want to thank everybody for coming today. Awesome.
Thank you. Thanks so
All right.
much.
Thanks,
All right,
everyone.
see you guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.